Welcome to the Agents of Fandom. We have a very special exclusive episode here. We are joined by a very special guest, one of the stars of Batwoman, Marcus Jett, aka the Joker. We are joined here today by the actor who plays him, Nick Creegan. Nick, how's it going here today?
I'm good, TJ. How are you doing?
Doing very well. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk some Batwoman, talk about the experience you had going into it. This is exciting.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too. I love how engaged you guys were from like Twitter to here. It got me excited, so I'm ready to dive in.
It's fun. We started up this podcast and we've been doing some writing, and so we're excited to keep growing and to have this conversation with you. Yeah. And I'm joined as always by my partner in crime, my co-host Garrett Blaney. How's it going, Garrett?
Oh, what's up, guys? Super excited to have another exclusive interview for you guys today. And Nick, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. We're excited to talk some CW Batwoman. For
sure, Garrett. Let's do it, man.
So one of the things I'm interested in, Nick, is this is the Joker. This is a big role, right? Like this is arguably one of the most iconic villains in pop culture. And so playing an iteration of him is a big deal. I'm curious about the casting process. Yeah. When you were trying to audition to be Marcus Jett, did you know who you were auditioning to be?
No, absolutely not. And I'm actually happy it happened the way it did. I think I would have psyched myself out. I didn't really, there's no way I'm going to get the Joker if they tell me that's what I was going out for. So what happened was I did the audition like any other audition would have went. You know, I obviously love DC as a product. I was like, this is my first DC product that I've auditioned for. This should be cool. It seems like he's going to be the brother of Ryan Wilder, who is Batwoman. So, you know, I went in and funny enough, I did the audition in a pervert. So it was just weird that it happened to be the Joker, their iteration of the Joker. But what happened was I booked the role as Marcus Jett. I'm thinking it's just Batwoman's brother. And then Caroline Dries, the showrunner, she texted me and she was just like, hey, if you want to hop on a FaceTime or a Zoom before you fly out to Vancouver tomorrow, let me know. We can talk through the character. So I agreed to do that. We hop on and she's asking me if I'm excited. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I can't wait to dive into Marcus. And she's like, well, I think I should tell you exactly what Marcus becomes. And she's like, I don't know how else to say this other than you're going to be our version of the Joker.
Wow.
And I was just like, wait, what? And I was in shock. My mouth dropped. I'm like thinking, obviously, Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix and Jared Leto and all these legends in my mind. And I started to get nervous. But then I realized that this was going to be a very original version. I was going to be able to put my own spin on it. So then I got really excited.
So obviously, like we covered, the Joker is one of the biggest villains in pop culture. And obviously, everyone you named has such a distinct version. And so what comes to your mind when trying to make your version different from this character that we've seen besides those, you know, Mark Hamill? There's so many iterations. So what goes through your mind in making yours compelling and different? I really wanted people to, you know, when you look at Heath Ledger's Joker, like it's easy to tell how, he's freaking like evil, just nuts completely, you know, right? Like There is it doesn't seem like there's even a small good part of him. But with Marcus Jett transitioning into the Joker, I wanted fans to be able to not be sure if they hate him or they feel sorry for him. And they wanted to, you know, if they want to root for him or not in certain situations. I wanted to be able to kind of play on vulnerability and like have people like get emotional when they see certain scenes, like in episode 7, I believe, where, you know, he's getting frozen and his mom is trying to save him from complete mental break. And, you know, he's in bed and he's crying and he's asking for his mom. And, you know, a few people, I saw them getting emotional on Twitter while watching it and live tweeting. And then snap, he like wraps an IV around his mom's neck and it's like, I'm going to kill you. So I wanted there to be kind of like this tug of war between not knowing if you feel sorry for him, but then also I wanted him to be a sexy style icon. So I wanted people to not sure if they're like
attracted to him or not. You know what I'm saying? I wanted people to kind of just be confused in all perspectives when it comes to him.
And props to you, because that's a really fine line to walk. Because empathizing with the Joker is like, that's even a crazy thought to process in your head, or this attraction to the Joker is a crazy process to drill through your head. So props to you.
Thank you.
Comes out well.
No, and I feel like it's just like empathy. It aids to the conversation about empathy completely, right? Like I feel like us as a people need to empathize better in every walk of life. So I think empathy is a huge motivation for me when it comes to him.
Absolutely. And so one thing that's interesting too is there's already been sort of, although it was never called the Joker, there's been another iteration of the Joker already played on the Gotham. On Gotham. Did you get a chance to talk with that actor at all before your role?
I didn't get a chance to speak to him. I loved his work in that and also in Shameless. So I definitely, saw what he did there. And the cool thing with his character is it had like the smile. So it was like pretty obvious. But, because of DC and like licensing reasons, like their version and our version can't actually use the name, but we were able to make it clear that Marcus was kidnapped as a kid by the old Joker. And, the old Joker is dead from the comic book world, but this version is like almost like a reincarnation mentally of him. And, the one thing I wish people would have been able to see is more of the backstory of Marcus. To me is so interesting. Like that whole kidnapping and everything of the bus. Like I feel like that could be a spinoff in itself, which is actually a good idea to just throw out there. I think Marcus.
Everyone listening, spinoff time. Sound the alarm.
But no, I didn't get a chance to talk to that actor. But yeah, I thought it was really cool how he dove into the character and made it very much as original as possible as well.
Speaking of darkness and like mental health, you brought that up briefly. Mental health is something, it's a very big thing surrounding this character. People have, put themselves in bad places to get into this mindset. So did that ever kind of worry you?
No, I as an artist, early on, I figured out that I was able to tap into dark places and pretty much snap out of it. Like I'm fortunate to know that it's just, for that reason. But I also I do a lot of mental health work with myself. I have a therapist. I do a lot of meditation. I'm very much grounded in who I am off screen. So it's fun as an artist to be able to go to dark places and go to these areas that you don't necessarily think about on a daily basis, just to give the performance that much more authenticity, right?
Right.
And I was able to serendipitously meet Jared Leto when I was in Miami a few weeks ago.
Saw that picture.
Yeah, I was at this party and it happened like a movie. I'm at this party, I'm on the other side of the party and I get a phone call from one of my friends and he's like, "Hey man, Jared Leto just got here. I want to introduce you to him." And I'm like, "What?" So I get myself together and then I go over there and I see Jared speaking to somebody else and my friend Ray is right there. And I'm like, "Okay, did you already talk to him?" He's like, "No, I've never spoken to him in my life, but I'm going to interrupt his conversation and you're going to meet him." So then I got nervous.
Wow.
And, he interrupted Jared. He introduced me to him, but Jared was super gracious and nice. And he was like, "Wow, man, this is a huge opportunity for you. How do you feel?" And I told him I'm excited, but then I asked him what advice do you have for somebody like myself that's going to be playing a role like this? And he said, "The best advice I could give you is to just dive as deep into it as you can." Wow. Like some people will say that's teetering along the lines of too much darkness. But I just feel like once I heard that from him, I kind of just gave myself liberty to just go there. And I've, been fortunate that everybody on set has loved what we've put out. So I can't wait for you guys to see what the rest of the season looks like.
Oh, we're excited to tap into that, and what an incredible experience to basically get almost permission from a past.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Congrats to you on that.
Thank you, man.
absolutely incredibly cool. Sorry about that little interruption there from my from my Sonic the Hedgehog. One thing that I've had lots of fans in the show have been talking to me about, so because obviously we've been promoting this interview, and it's a real exciting thing that you're on Batwoman in DC. There's obviously such a gigantic fandom, and something I've been proposed to ask to you is, well, obviously we know we can't get any big spoilers, nothing like that. I read an earlier interview of yours that said episode 8 is when big things might be coming for your character. A nickname of the Joker is Mr. J. A fun play on your character as well is Marcus Jet. His last name starts with a J.
Yeah.
Is that a nickname that we might get for your character as well?
I have fun with that and call myself that sometimes on social media. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, his last name is Jet. So yeah, Mr. J. But I think it's fun whenever fans kind of create their own worlds too off screen. Like, I love reading some of the tweets that I see, and like even the fan art. I've seen some amazing fan art that has, Mr. J on it, and like different Joker iterations of paintings that people have made. So shout outs to all the amazing fans that help bring their imagination to life off screen as well. But yeah, I mean, if you want to call him Mr. J, feel free to do so. Tweet it out there. Let it materialize.
Well, we're gonna spread that out to the people.
We're gonna start getting it going, spreading out like wildfire.
Ooh.
And so one thing, like something that's we've talked about a lot on this podcast. We previously have had an interview with Anthony Francisco of Dolphin Media. He was formerly from Marvel Studios, and one of the big conversations we had was about representation. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things about your character is it's not exactly like we want to see more people growing up to be like the Joker, and so I'm happy to represent this. It's nothing like that. But what it is it's getting to see you're obviously the very first Black actor to take on this role. Yeah. And on top of that, what's exciting to me is you as a person that's getting to be represented in this role, because we talked about mental health earlier, and you speak openly about, you have a counselor. I do too. I think that's so great that people can learn to talk about this openly so that other people can get more comfortable to have the conversation. What's it like for you being in this role of, it's such a spotlight and you get to bring your own personal touch to it, and what do you want to bring to it?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the topic of representation and also mental health awareness. But I try my best to inject myself in every role I do so that it can be a little bit of Nick in there as well. I mean, acting is one of those things where it's like, it's a holistic medicine in many ways for me. Like, it's therapeutic to be able to go out there and put Nick in situations that he wouldn't necessarily normally be in and see how he would react, and also be able to kind of work through other things in life or in thought through art. So I try to inject myself in there as much as possible, a little bit of my personality, a little bit of my humor, a little bit of my charisma, things of that nature that you can definitely see in Marcus Jet that are very similar to myself. Outside of the murdering, I don't kill people, so we're good on that front. But other than that, I really do think it's important that, kids who are growing up, like of all different colors and backgrounds, to know that they can do anything. Like, there is no one role that is specifically designated for one race. I feel like the beauty of fiction and the beauty of art is that it is all imaginative. There's no real Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne. They're all made up, and necessarily they can be anybody. So no, I think it's super important to be along this journey of representation and being able to be the first Black Joker. It's awesome. Like, I'm very excited for Halloween to come, and like for me to see pictures of little kids and adults wearing Marcus Jet outfits. I think that's going to mean a lot to me. I've thought about that a few times, so I'm excited for that.
That's so fantastic. And I'm grateful that it's somebody like you in this role getting to portray that, because you clearly take it to heart and have the passion to put into it. And I think that's so, so wonderful. There have been a lot of Joker actors in the past who have transitioned to other roles as well in and outside of DC lore, to Star Wars mythos, Marvel mythos. Obviously, we have Mark Hamill. He's Luke Skywalker and the Joker. It's an amazing combo of light and dark. But there's also Cameron Monaghan, who is Cal Kestis in Star Wars, and Jared Leto is obviously starring in the upcoming Morbius movie.
Yep.
On the topic of representation, while we're there, getting more people of color in superhero roles and just in pop culture in general, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel, what other roles do you have your eyes on that you might want to portray, whether it's the MCU or the Star Wars universe?
I mean, I feel like anything within the Marvel world would be such a dream come true. I really love the way that Mark Ruffalo has played like the Hulk, and I think the Hulk would be like an insanely cool character to play. Like, there's also that transformation there too, right? Like, you're this normal, boring guy on the regular day, like a scientist, and then all of a sudden you turn into this monster. I think that could be really cool. I also love characters that have comedic senses too. That's what I think Marvel has done a good job with. Like, for instance, Thor. He's like super comedic in a lot of ways. And I feel like that could be a cool character to play. And in terms of Star Wars, I think every kid grew up wanting to be Luke Skywalker. So I would not mind taking that on too at some point, and the cool thing is, even though I'm actually doing something as the first of a kind, like, it also opens up my mind and helps me realize that there are other roles that I might have not thought about before that are possible, So in a way, I'm like inspiring myself in a weird kind of like different dimension, like situation as well, right? Like, I'm seeing these dreams come true for myself, and I'm like, damn, like, this really happened. So why can't this happen?
Right. Absolutely. Well, we'll get on the phone with Kevin Feige. He's a good friend of ours. We'll talk to him and say,
great,
you gotta audition this guy, Nick.
Tell Kevin I said it's up. Sit down with my people. We can make this happen.
I wish we had that much pull. Maybe one day soon.
I see it happening.
To close out, I want to kind of take it back to representation real quick. There's rightfully so a very huge call to not only diversify the cast of projects, but also the crew of projects. Mm-hmm. And I know that the writers' room of the Batwoman does an incredible job of bringing LGBTQ writers and themes to the show in a heavy way.
We actually got nominated for a GLAAD award yesterday, which
was last night. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. So how does that quality show, the representation, does that show within the crew of the Batwoman as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the directors that we've been able to work with have literally been everything from women to men to queer people. It's just like, we're such an inclusive group. And aside from the fact that everything is inclusive on paper, it feels very inclusive. Everybody on set is fully themselves. People have different color hair. People have all different types of personalities. There's nobody that I haven't seen on set that isn't just very different than somebody else. And it just feels like a family. I mean, like, I've never felt judged ever, and I've never seen anybody feel judged. So that means a lot to me, because the worst thing ever is when people get to watch something on television or on in a movie theater, and you think it's an awesome project, but the people who worked on it said, yeah, I wish you guys knew what actually happened behind the scenes. It wasn't as beautiful as it looked on TV. But I can honestly say the Batwoman crew and cast is like, it's a dream. It literally is. I'm not just saying that. Like, the production team has just done an amazing job of just making everybody feel welcomed. And that's just a testament to our showrunner and our executive producers. Greg Berlanti and Caroline Dries, they are a dream team to work for. I have nothing but good things to say about that set. So
awesome. Well, hats off to Batwoman. Hats off to CW for making that happen. Hopefully we can push for more of that to happen around the industry.
Oh, for sure. I feel like every set should be like that. It's about time where everybody feels welcome and nobody feels ostracized.
Absolutely.
So wonderful. And the CW as a whole, this like the Batwoman universe by itself is large, but the CW Arrowverse is something that's been existing for so long, interacting with other shows, stuff like that. Obviously, we want to keep it spoiler free. We know you can't, there's lots of things you can and can't tell us, but what has you excited for the upcoming adventure Marcus Jett is going to be on the rest of the way here? Do you have hopes that it could lead to various crossovers so you can interact with some of the other shows as well?
I'm hoping so. I mean, granted, we haven't gotten, we haven't gotten greenlit for season 4 just yet, but I have faith that it's going to happen. And once that happens, the cool thing about Caroline and the producers that we work for, they're very much like collaborative. They love asking our opinions, like on what direction we see for our characters. So that's I have great. A few ideas. I would love to see Marcus do some cool things in the crossover world. Obviously, Batwoman was able to be a part of the Flash universe this season. So I think a lot of cool things could happen in the crossover universe.
So very cool. Well, Nick, we're so grateful that you joined us today. This has been an absolute blast. If things ever calm down for you a little bit, we might have to get you back on just for a regular talk DC, Star Wars, and Marvel pod since you're a fan.
Yeah, for sure. That would be awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and get it trending on all the social medias. Batwoman season 4. We want to see it. So
let's make it
happen.
Mr.
J.
Mr. J, Batwoman season 4. Those are our 2 agendas after
and Kevin Feige.
Episode.
We're going to push those 3 agendas for the MCU.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, absolute pleasure, Nick.
Awesome.
And so that'll do it for today's interview on the Agents of Fandom. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out all of our socials, Agents of Fandom, anywhere you get social media. You can find our podcast, Agents of Fandom, wherever you get your pods. This will be up on YouTube, on the Fandom Wire website. Thanks, Nick, again for joining us. From myself, TJ, from my co-host, Garrett Blaney. Thank you. Peace.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.